All right, we are live. Coffee chat number two. Welcome everyone. Um, Nobody's in the chat yet, so let's go straight into it. But today's lesson, we're gonna have a lesson today where it's about being a good human at the end of the day, right? It's about network in the music industry. And I have my YouTube. Let me turn it off real quick. Okay. Today, so we're going to talk about networking today. It's about being a good human. It's an ask me anything also. So feel free to use the chat and drop in some questions. I have quite a big agenda today about talk about networking. So I'll try to get through all of it. Hello, Nicole. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you joining the chat. So yeah, I'll go through some lessons on networking. Feel free to ask questions. I may not answer them immediately, but I have the whole entire chat in front of me, so I'll go through them. Once we go through maybe different sections of the lesson today. So, um, as I mentioned, the theme today is networking, right? And networking in the music industry. It's so important that everyone tells you to do it, and most people don't tell you how to do it, right? Or some of the important lessons within networking and how to build a network. So this is what today's all about. So I'm gonna start with a couple of stories before we begin. So the first one is I'm trying to mention his name, but it's a good story. But what he says can come across mean. But anyways, there's a platform called Polestar, right? And there's also another platform called Roster. And on those platforms, I mean, you have contacts, right? Contacts to labels, managers, agents, talent buyers, venues, like all kinds of people in the music industry, right? And when I was booking shows, when I was a talent buyer, I discovered Polestar and I was blown away. And I was like, if I had this information when I first started, when I was in college, it would have made life so much easier, right? And I mean, literally, you type in the artist and you see who their manager is, who their agent is, who their record label is, right? Contacts, email addresses are on Polestar, phone numbers. So, what I always say, with great power comes great responsibility, Spider-Man quote. Just because you have those contacts doesn't make it okay to reach out. And we'll go through a little bit of that today as well, right? When to reach out. But there's someone specifically. So I was working at the Plaza Live. I was one of the first venues. We're actually literally the first venue I was a town buyer at, like a full-time town buyer. And when I discovered Polestar, right, we created this niche at Plaza where we focused on certain genres because everyone wanted to book the popular stuff. Everybody wanted to book hip hop and pop music and all the mainstream stuff, all the cool rock bands. So we had to figure out how do we stand out, and we really focused on singer songwriters, the New Orleans style music, which led me to New Orleans later on, and a little bit of reggae before reggae got really big, but blues, right? Just all different genres that we focused on that the other venues weren't doing. So we carved out a niche for ourselves. And there's one agency that had so many artists that were such a good fit for the Plaza. And I had the power of Polestar, right? The other cool thing about Polestar and Roster, every week they have the new signings, right? So you should check that out. The new industry signings, the new artists that got signed to agencies and management companies and record labels. So you're finding out who's getting signed on Roster, which is really cool. And I would really pay attention to that because one of the ways to break into the industry as a promoter or a town buyer is booking the new bands, right? It's not about booking the ones that have already made it, already selling out venues. It's about booking the ones that just signed because people need to find them work. And if you're reaching out early, you can be an early adopter for an artist. So there's this one agency I always pay attention to what their signings were. I would reach out to the owner of the agency all the time and asking him about booking artists. Never got a response. But one day he calls the office, and I was so excited. Right, the Christy or office manager, she answered the phone and she said, "Hey, Chris, so and so's on the phone," and I was stoked. I mean, the owner of the agency, the one I've been emailing for months now, right, is ready to talk to me finally. So she transfers the call over to me, and I'm like, "So and so, so great to finally talk to you." And he says, "Chris, you send me a lot of emails and it's really effing annoying. I know who you are. I know you exist. You do not build relationships by email. You build relationships by picking up the phone and calling people." And he just hung up. My heart sank. Almost died. I was like, I blew it. Like this guy, this powerful agent, right? Um he's never going to book shows with us ever again. And didn't know how to respond to that. And 2 months later, he finally calls instead of emails, and we book up a sold out show together. And when I went to the next job, when I went to House of Blues in New Orleans, I wrote him letting him know I'm going to I'm at New Orleans now at House of Blues, and he had the kindest message to say to me and my boss over there. Right, my boss was on copy, and he had the nicest message to say about me being there. So just because you think you blew it doesn't mean you actually blew it, right? As people are graceful and they give you second chances, most people, and just a lesson, right? If you have a network, if you have access to emails and contacts, it doesn't make it okay to just email them. Have reason and purpose to email, and once you've followed up a couple times, it's probably time to pick up the phone and actually call. Also, right, this leads me into my next story before we get into like the meat and potatoes of the lesson today. The next story is it's a story I tell every semester to my students about networking and the power of networking, right? And this ties into the whole picking up the phone thing. And it's a little bit of a tribute, right? So over the weekend, it's on Friday. One of the legends of our industry passed away, and along with another drummer from the Devil Wears Prada and some really young people in the industry that were just getting a start, right? But Dave Shapiro, if y'all heard of the plane crash in San Diego, he was his plane. He was the pilot of the plane, and one of the kindest, most genuine people in the industry, right? And the story I wanted to share with Dave. So first of all, like, right, big legend in our industry. Talk to you no matter what level you were at, right? So this speaking of networking, right? He didn't care if you were the assistant. He didn't care if your email address changed, right? It's like some people, like when my email address was at livenation.com, everyone responded to my email. But eventually, right, I left and my email no longer said at livenation.com, and many people in the industry stopped replying to my messages because it no longer said at livenation.com. And Dave, no matter what, like no matter where I was, who I was working for, always kind, always responding, right? Literally his last message was to my personal email when I just had reached out, and he said, "It's so good to hear from you," right? And it's just nice, right? It was a busy guy. It was a short, quick email, but we're now acknowledging people, right? Like that's kindness, right? And one of the things I always say is lead with kindness. So the story with Dave is with Dave and my old mentor, Sonny. Sonny never confirmed a show over email, and this reminds me to this day, right? There's so many shows I've confirmed for Cowboy Bebop Live when I booked this last tour that I didn't pick up the phone, and I kind of regret it. I was like, man, I should have picked up the phone and meet all these promoters, and just say hello, right? But Sonny would never confirm a show without picking up the phone. He would always do it over the phone, and most of the times it wasn't even about confirming the show or talking through the details. It was just an opportunity to say hello, an excuse to talk to someone, right? Because people in the industry are busy, but whenever an opportunity presents itself to have an excuse to call, you should always call, right? When you think about building relationships, the least genuine way is through a DM. Then it's a little bit more meaningful or maybe more professional to then transfer that to an email. And then it's even deeper of a relationship and closer when the time is right to do it over text, and then really over the phone, and then in person, right? In that order, right? That's how you build the strongest ways to build relationships. And in person is the strongest. There's nothing better than in person. Then it's the phone, like calling, and then it's text, then it's email, and then it's DM. So DM is the least personal, right? Maybe some of the newer generation, right? DM is the new texting, but email is professional. So always start with email, and call people, right? So going back to Sonny and Dave. So we did a lot of shows with Dave Shapiro. I actually posted the top of a contract when it happened. That was a show that we booked at House of Blues New Orleans with the Devil Wears Prada, and Dave was involved. And at the time, my now mentor Randy was the manager. So it's crazy how we're all connected, right? And it's why it's so important to lead with kindness. But when Sonny called Dave this one time, this is a story I always tell, is at first he was so annoyed, right? And Sonny always had his phone on speakerphone, so I could hear and I could like kind of learn, kind of be a fly on the wall. And Dave at first was so annoyed. He's like, "Sonny, you're so old. Why do you always have to call me to confirm shows? You can just send me an email." And Sonny just responded with, "Oh, but I miss the sound of your voice, and I haven't talked to you in so long, and I just wanted to make sure you're doing okay and check on you, right?" And they went into like a 20 or 30-minute long conversation, and it was just such a fun, kind conversation. I don't remember the context of the conversation, but I just really remember the part where Dave was at first annoyed that Sonny called him, and then they ended up talking for like 20, 30 minutes, and just such a pleasant conversation and just talking only about personal stuff. They didn't really talk about the show at all. Like right at the end, it was like, all right, cool. So we're doing this show, blah blah blah, cool, done. Like literally a couple seconds about the show. So, anyways, keep your lead with kindness. Call people, right? That's the lesson. And just remember Dave Shapiro for being such a great example of what it is to be a good human in our industry. So that's my story for today. And then going into the networking lesson, right? So one of my mentors in teaching, Jessica Wiki, shout out to her, Jessica. She always said, "It's not about who you know; it's about who knows you." Right? And I take that one level deeper. It's not about who knows. It's not about who you know. It's about who knows you and keeping your network active. Right? So we'll talk about another exercise a little later about keeping an active network. But one thing I always do every single day to keep a network active is to wish people happy birthday. Right? If I know your birthday, I'll put it in my phone. Otherwise, for us old school dinosaurs in the industry, right? There's Facebook, and Facebook every single day will tell you whose birthday it is, right? So I start every morning. I look at Facebook memories. I sometimes post purposely on Facebook just to have it in my memory the following year and years to come. And I also look at birthdays, right? So look at memories first, and then I look at birthdays, and whoever's birthday it is, I make sure to wish them a happy birthday. I don't do it perfectly every day. I miss it on weekends or holidays sometimes, but I try to wish someone happy birthday. Again, right, least personal is to do it on Facebook. If I don't have their number, I would just do it on Facebook. Next level up is if you don't have their number, send them an email. It's a little more personal there. And then the next level up from that is text them, right? And the next level up from there is call them, right? So try to call people on their birthday, or at least text them. Don't do it on Facebook if you can. I do it sometimes too, and I just don't have their email or phone number. But tell people happy birthday, right? That's a great way to keep your network active and to stay top of mind. And that's really what today's about, right? It's not about who you know, it's about who knows you, and more importantly, how do you show up for people? It's not about gaining something. It's about building relationships at the end of the day. So before I go in the next section of the lesson, let me just take a quick look at the comments. All right, cool. Nicole, if you're still here, right, you have interest in transitioning to touring. So you've worked large scale events and you're interested in transitioning to touring, and do I have any tips on how to make that shift? So last week we talked about, right, so the importance of just getting any kind of experience, right? Like work wherever possible at first and get experience. And when you want to transition to working like large scale events, and then you want to go working in touring, the ultimate gateway into touring is working at a venue, right? So I would just say work at a venue for starters. There is a lot of great platforms out there for touring. I'm going to post here. So I'm going to share my email real quick. Here's my email address. If you're interested in touring in the touring world, send me an email. I'm going to post this very soon. I'm fine tuning it, but I have like a 2 or 3 page document about gigging and freelance opportunities in the music industry. So email me, and I'll send you that document. And I will post it soon on LinkedIn, like soon, like hopefully by the end of this week or early next week. The document's almost ready to post publicly. There's just some few more things I want to hyperlink. But I have a big document on where to get started, right? And in touring or in working in live, right? And the big thing about going into touring is just showing up and working live events in the music industry. And then being at a venue obviously is super, super helpful, because when you're at a venue, you're going to touch multiple elements within the industry, right? And Nicole, depending what you did, I would say start in production if you want to get in touring, because that's going to introduce you to a lot of people, a lot of tours and a lot of people that are on the road, and kind of what today's lesson is about, networking, right? So we'll get into some more tips for networking. But when you're working shows, you're going to be around tour managers, production managers, merch people, tours, right? And if you do a good job, like the ones that end up on tour, like the people that I usually call is the ones I have a good experience with at a venue, right? If I meet a really good audio engineer, or a really good production manager, or someone else really good at merch, hospitality, whatever, I keep track of them. Like I literally have a list. And then when I go to that city and I need someone for today, I'll call them. If they show up and do a good job, then if I need someone for a tour, I would call them like, hey, have you ever thought about touring, right? So that's where I would start. I would start at a venue, and not having enough all the context of your story and background, this is probably where I'd start. So email me for the gigging list, and then see if there's a venue that you can work at, and start at a venue for sure. So hopefully that was helpful. Sorry. So the next topic for networking, and again, anybody's any questions, right? This is ask me anything about music industry. Drop in the chat. What I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna go through it section by section of what I have prepared. But I will stop after each section and just kind of just look at what the questions are. So today's theme, networking, right? So my biggest mantra is go see shows, meet people, make stuff, right? So if you, no matter what industry you're in, if this is an industry you want to be in, show up for your industry, right? You, like when I was in high school and college, and I wasn't even planning on going to the industry, but just because I loved music so much, I would go to as many shows as possible. And I mean, there's once a month, like we would keep track, a friend of mine and I would keep track of what shows we went to each month and how many we went through over a year. And one month we went to 25 shows. It's insane. We were a show every day. And yes, we're college students. We're broke, right? How we afford to go to all these shows. Most of them were either like free events or like $5, $10 events, right? Low ticket events. We're going to see a lot of local shows, like maybe a handful of those were like national tours, but a lot of local shows. And we got to meet a lot of people at the different venues, right? So we got to meet the door people would remember us because we keep going to so many shows. The people at the bar would remember us. People working at the venues would remember us, right? The bands would remember us because we're always at shows, always supporting our local scene. So if you love live music, this is an industry you want to be in, go show up for your industry, support your industry, go see shows. If you're an artist, you should be at shows all the time, right? Meet your fellow artists in your community, because one, it keeps your community alive and thriving and doing well, and it's nice to support people, right? That's, again, speaking of networking, how do you build a powerful network? Is show up for people, right? Show up for them. Show up for them when it means something. When someone's playing a show, it means something to them. So show up. So be there. Show up for people. And when you go see shows, meet people, make stuff. That kind of leads into my 3 class rules that I always had in the classroom. So my students did real live events, and hopefully I'll have some guests on here soon. And one of them will be, well, she's going to be a guest for the podcast, and she did an amazing live event. But we'll tell that story when that time. But the 3 class rules, right, when they were working together producing these events, is always lead with kindness, mindfulness, right? So mindfulness, everyone is dealing with something that you don't know anything about. And it's none of your business to know what they're dealing with. It's up to them to share if they want to share that with you. And then the other thing, extreme ownership, right? If something goes wrong, don't blame others. Look inward. If something didn't go a certain way or there was an issue, look inward first before blaming, right? Look inward and say, what could I have done better? If you're a leader in something, could I have given better directions? Could I have made things a little more clear? What could I have done better, right? So again, the 3 rules is in networking and building strong relationships is lead with kindness, mindfulness, everyone's dealing with something that you know nothing about, and then extreme ownership, like own the moment, right? And see what you could have done better to make that moment better. Sometimes people just deliberately do terrible things, and then that's something you could in your control, right? I was still looking inward in those moments and say, man, I probably should have done a better job hiring. Probably should have screened better when I hired this person. But anyways, and then when you go into shows, right, and you're meeting people, treat everyone like they're important. Like, assume when people are working at a venue, they are working their way up, right? They're trying to do something else within the industry, and you never know where they're going to end up. Also, there's been many times where maybe someone was late to work or didn't show up to work, and the person that literally books the venue is taking tickets at the door, right? And when I was working at a venue, the place I was at the most is at the door, is because that's where most of the issues happen. So you probably, chances are high that you're going to have people at the door that you're going to want to meet, right? And you're going to want to network with. So lead with kindness always, no matter who it is. It doesn't matter if it's the bartender, the person cleaning the venue, if it's the security guard, if it's who, no matter who, always lead with kindness. Because it's good just to be a good human. And then 2, you never know where they're going to be, right? And if you're in a position where you're calling people, right, you're maybe in your first role in the industry and you're an assistant or an intern, doing admin work, whatever it is, and you're meeting with people that are like outward facing of your company. So first, be kind to everyone within your company, right? But then when you're making phone calls and you're talking to other assistants, interns, agents, managers, and so on, lead with kindness there. Again, doesn't matter what level they're at. There's so many assistants, right? So speaking of Dave Shapiro, like he worked at an agency called the Agency Group. Right? It's one of the places he started at. And there's so many good agents out of that the New York office. I mean, all the offices, but the New York office especially had such an amazing group of agents. And if you look at where a lot of them are today, right? Like, I mean, this agency group, I've met a lot of these people in 2008, 2009, 2010, right? But a lot of these assistants are now powerful agents, like leading divisions, vice presidents of agencies, owners of agencies, right? And they start off as assistants, right? You never know where an assistant or an intern or an administrative person is going to end up. So another reason to be kind to everyone, because people will remember, right? People will remember how you made them feel. So don't be dismissive. Try to not rush conversations. Like we know we're busy. And this goes both ways, right? Try to not rush conversations. If someone's talking to you, like be present. Like be present when people are talking. Don't be looking somewhere else or trying to talk to the next person that's higher up and cooler to talk to. Right? Don't climb the ladder. If you're doing a good job, you're a kind human and you're working hard, you're going to move your way up. That'll just happen based on your work ethic and how you treat people, right? Not because a cooler person you think is cooler is standing next to the person you're talking to and you'd rather talk to them, right? Make the person you're currently talking to feel important. Exit gracefully, right? We'll talk about that a little later when we talk about icebreakers. And then pick up on context cue, right? When you are talking to the person you want to talk to, try to keep it short, try to keep it quick, try to keep it important. And if you're seeing their body like changing a little bit, right? They're moving one foot like in the other direction, like they're about to go, or you notice like they aren't keeping eye contact anymore. They're starting to get distracted, right? Try to pick up on those context cues and try to wrap up the conversation, right? Yeah, I'll end it with that. We'll get into icebreakers and we'll dive a little deeper. But it's other reasons why it's important to build strong relationships, right? Daily, like building good relationships with everyone, it's going to lead to success. It'll lead to happiness, fulfillment, and belonging. So I'll end this section there, and then we'll get into adding value to relationships. But I'm going to take a quick look in the chat before we keep going. Cool. Arshia, I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, from Making Academies here. We're going to be talking soon. So thanks for joining. Let me see. Question is it possible to succeed in music industry when only working part-time? I'm currently a full-time engineer, but I enjoy music. Oh, absolutely. You can totally succeed in music industry starting part-time, right? A lot of people start part-time. You got to start somewhere, right? So absolutely, like just when you're working, right, be fully present and focus on building good, strong relationships. And just try to work as many gigs as you can, right? Not knowing like what you're currently doing. I'm assuming, and we'll talk, I think Friday, I'm assuming you're probably interested in being either a promoter, working at a venue, or being a manager, right? Which is why you're part of the Making It Academy. So assuming that, just try to be around as many shows as you can, right? So when you're not working and you're working on part-time in the industry, if you're not working, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know if you're working for someone or it's just like your own business that you're trying to build. But if you're working for someone, then be fully present, focus on building the good relationships, right? The networking part, and just work really hard. And we'll get to it when we talk about the icebreakers. But one big mistake a lot of people do as well is they're not focused on the current gig they're in, right? They're trying to get the next gig, right? And these are the worst people to work with. If you're ever working a show and there is this one person that's just always trying to like find the next opportunity and is trying to just like they're trying to network for their own gain, right? And this will actually go tie nicely into the next section of the networking. But if they're only networking for their own gain, it's very obvious. And these are people that nobody wants to work with, right? So while you're working, focus on the gig you're currently working on, be helpful, contribute, look for ways to help. And yeah, and then when you're not working, right, if you're not like working at a job or your own business, when you have time, go to shows, right? Go to shows and meet the people at the shows, meet the people at the venues, make sure they know who you are. Again, it's not about finding an opportunity. It's just about genuinely building relationships and getting to know people. So yeah, you absolutely can succeed in the industry while being part-time. And we'll talk more later in person, but or over Zoom. But absolutely, yeah, 100%. You can build relationships and build success in the industry being starting off part-time. Any cool, thanks, but I had a question about calling versus okay, I had a question about calling versus emailing versus texting. Is it okay to just call people out of the blue, or should you ask them for a call? So it's a great question actually, because that goes into the whole calling is more powerful than texting, than email, and so on, right? Of course, be mindful of people's time, right? So know when it's all right to call. Like whenever there's an opportunity, like birthdays, always an excuse to call, right? If there's a birthday and you have their number, call them. Call them, wish them happy birthday. If it's someone that you know that you've already had conversations with, right? It's a person that knows you, right? So you know they know you, right? You've had conversations and things like that. Call them once a year or twice a year, and right, and say, and this is actually, I am going to jump around my networking lesson, but call them and just say, hey, it's been a while since we talked. I've been thinking about you, and I just want to say I hope you're doing well. And that's it. That's it. Don't say anything else. Don't ask for anything. It's not about you in that moment, right? You're just calling to check on them. Like, how many times has anyone called you just to check on you? It's rare, right? Like, those are real friends. Like, those are people that really care. Like, just call and check on them. Like, hey, it's been a long time, and I know you're busy, but I just wanted to say hi and hope you're doing well. And I was thinking about you, and that's it. And just see what they say, and then and just say, yeah, that's all I really wanted today. I don't really need anything from you. Just want to say hi, and hope we get to work together on something soon, and have an awesome day. And that's it, right? Just keep it quick and short. So find the right moments to call people. If you're about to work on a project with them, right? Use the excuse I mentioned earlier about Sonny. Like, he would never confirm anything without calling, right? So maybe, like, if you have to go over the final details of something, then call, right? So call to go over the final details, or quote unquote go over the final details, and really call just to shoot the breeze and get to know them. And yeah, I think that's, hopefully that answers that question. So when the opportunity is right to call, then call. Yes. So the once or twice a year to check on them, the birthday, and maybe we're about to work on something, you're just going over final details. That's when I would call over texting and emailing whenever it's something professional. So whenever it's something you need to go back to, right? Something you need to reference back to have your paper trail, like in your backup, kind of cover yourself. And then texting just for like quick, short conversations. That's probably how I would go about emailing versus calling versus texting. All right, my friend from India, you're back. Awesome. I don't know how to pronounce your name, so forgive me if I butcher it. But Falgun, I'm gonna start there. Hopefully that's correct. But last week you helped me with budget to run a festival. Awesome. I'm glad that was helpful. I want to know how sponsorships lead into this, and having the money to spend in my bank account before starting. That's awesome mindset for starters, right? So whenever you produce an event, you should have the money for the event before you produce it. Sponsorships. Wow, maybe I should do one of these lessons on sponsorships soon. I have quite a few on the Making Academy. I'm trying to push that, but there's quite a few lessons that go deep into sponsorships. But when it goes, cool, I nailed the pronunciation. Thank you. So when it comes to sponsorships, right? What do they care about? At the end of the day, they care about you reaching the right audience and them having a connection with your audience, right? So it's going to be the hardest for a first-time festival. If it's a festival that is established, and I remember it was a 1,000-cap venue that you want to do a festival in, right? And we talked about building some reps and getting some experience first. One of the things I always tell my promoters is sponsorships is not just about one event, right? I mean, if it's a festival, you kind of want sponsors for that festival itself. But if you're doing these other events leading up to the festival as you're building reps, right? What you could do is sponsors get the most value. So the more people they reach, the more value that there is, right? And they get the most value when you can do multiple touch points, right? There's multiple events. So a lot of times when some venues I worked at, or I mean, even Live Nation does this too, sponsors will sponsor an entire series of events. They'll sponsor for a season, like a quarter, a month, an entire year, right? They're sponsoring for multiple things, not just for a one-time thing. So if you are going to promote a route where you're going to do multiple events leading up to your festival, maybe your bigger packages, right? So maybe you have like sponsorship for a series. So, hey, you're going to be the sponsor for the next 5 shows, right? For the next 5 shows, you're the sponsor. And then if you're at this level, it'll just be the next 5 shows, and that's what you'll get. And then the next level after that, will include you also in the festival. And the next level after that, you can even like get these extra benefits at the festival, right? So you're not just a sponsor at the festival, but you're now also the stage sponsor or the festival sponsor, right? And maybe you could sell those as separate sponsorships, the stage name and the festival name, sell that separately, but give them inclusion with your series. That's how you can add more value. If it's literally just a one-time festival or one-time event, you want to start early. Start with your sponsorships a year out if you can. The earlier, the better. You want to hit companies before they can get into the decision of making their budget for the year, which makes it hard, right? Because some companies, and I don't know how it is in India, but every country's gonna be different. But in the United States, some companies will work on a fiscal year, right? So a fiscal year meaning, let's say we're about to go into June, right? So June 1st is maybe when their year starts, and then it ends in May. So their fourth quarter really is May, April, March, right? So in their fourth quarter, they're deciding the budget for that next year. So that's hard. That's hard to guess unless you know the company. But ideally, you want to try to hit the companies in the fall when they're making their budgets for the next year, and try to let them know about your festival then, right? If your festival is in January, if it's in the fall, you're kind of a little late, but lead time is key. And then I would start the caliber of sponsors, right? It's think about local, regional, national. So the easiest sponsors to get are local businesses and local companies. They're going to have a little bit less money and less resources to give you, right? But they're easier to get. Then the next level will be regional. It's going to be a little harder to get, a little harder to get the breakthrough, the contacts, but they'll have more money to give you and more resources to give you. And then the hardest is going to be national, right? They're going to have the most money, the most resources, but they're also being reached out to by the most people. So when you're first starting out, since then it's going to be your first event, start local, like find local sponsors, right? Don't worry about like finding a sponsor to pay for the entire event. Maybe find a bunch of smaller sponsors that are putting in $250, $500 each to support your event, and try to find 5 to 10 of them. And then at a show that's in 1,000 cap venue, right? I mean, your expenses shouldn't be that high anyway. Maybe anywhere from 10 to 20, 25 grand. So if you can find enough sponsors to at least cover a decent percentage of that, they're not probably going to cover your entire thing the first time, but they can cover some of them, right? If they cover 10 to 40% of your expenses the first time out, great. And then in your sponsorship kit, right, for next year, then now talk about the successes of the previous year. How many people attended? Again, they care about numbers, right? How many people attended? How many people are in your email database? How many people are in your text database? And that's one of the biggest things to build up. Build up your email database, build up your text database. And this goes in a whole other lesson. I'm going to record a standalone lesson for YouTube, hopefully this week or next week, on how promoters can build brands, right? Because that's what promoters are really bad at. They're bad at building brands. Like most of my music business students, I mean, if I asked all of you right now, like name me another promoter outside of Live Nation or AEG without looking it up, and most of my business students can't get past AEG. And I was like, wow, you're going into this industry, you need to know who the promoters are. But that's also on the promoters how bad they are at branding themselves, right? So hopefully that was helpful. And just as a reminder, if you want to email me about sponsorships, I'll send you. There's a good YouTube channel about sponsorships that one of my students actually introduced me to recently, and I can send you some example sponsorship kits. So there's my email if you want to send me a quick note. We'll get to that. And let me see, you had a follow up. So do sponsors expect to be paid back? No. So it's a great question, right? I mean, if it's your first time, you won't know. The sponsors don't expect to be paid back for profits at the event. It just needs to be worthwhile for them, right? They need to get enough leads and enough information or enough leads that they can potentially close to make it worthwhile for them, right? And it's not about like, let's say they sponsor for $1,000. They're not trying to make $1,000 right out of the bat from your event, because if they get a lead, right, they're trying to find a customer. Like people that do it smart, they're trying to find a lifetime customer that's going to spend money over and over and over again, and then the value of a lifetime of that customer is going to be way more valuable than what their sponsorship was, right? And that's what they're looking for. So yes, you don't have to pay it back. They're just looking to make profit off of the potential leads that they get from it, or have opportunities for leads. Let me see. I had another question from Nicole. If there's a dream artist you love to work with, what steps would you recommend taking to make that happen, especially when you're just starting out to build connections and attending shows? So I'm assuming this is a dream artist you want to work with in the touring world. Dream artist. That one's hard because it depends on context a little bit, right? It depends on if you're trying to be on tour with them, right? If you're looking for an opportunity in touring, or if you're looking to promote them or work on their management team, right? So depending where, I know a little bit of context from Nicole because of a question earlier. She asked about touring. So if it isn't touring, so yes, touring. So if it's in touring, if this artist has a really good crew and a crew is happy, it's going to be extremely hard, right? It's just being honest. Because if the crew's happy, right, you find artists all the time that have had the same crew for years, right? Years, decades sometimes. There was one, I mean, it's positive. So I don't like mentioning names, especially when it's not positive, but and it's an artist maybe most of you will not expect, but Yanni, right? When I did Yanni, when I was at AAG, his crew was with him for decades. Like every one of them, every single one of them, happy to be there, happy to work on that tour, right? And none of them would ever leave. So, however, there's always opportunities, right? There's always going to be. I mean, not everyone started at the same time with a tour. Not everyone is staying the entire time, right? People will leave and come and go. So you need to know who the people are on that tour. You I would go see the show, right? For starters, if that artist is coming to you to your town, go to the show, meet the merch person. Now, depending at the scale and caliber of this artist, this dream artist, if they're doing a show in an arena or stadium, amphitheater, you might be okay. But if it's an arena or stadium, then chances of meeting the merch manager is going to be hard because it's going to be a third party company selling the merch, right? It's not going to be the actual merch management that's on tour selling the merch. So it'll be a little harder. If you have the opportunity to go to VIP experience, right? Meet the person that's running the VIP. But just try to meet any person that's on the tour. I mean, from merch to VIP, maybe, I mean, it's going to be hard to bother the production people, but maybe like have a good icebreaker question, right? Or icebreaker to just say hi to the people that are running sound. When you're running sound, this is a hard one too. How do you know who is the production people for who, right? And look at the passes. If you notice the passes on them, I have one on me. If you notice the passes, if they have an all access pass and looks like a tour laminate, now if everyone's on tour, they're all gonna have the same pass. So that makes it hard too. And every audience is different, right? Whoever looks like they have the biggest blueprint and the most space when it comes to production, right? That's probably the person you want to talk to, right? But if you find an excuse to quickly talk to a production person, just say hi and say, hi, my name is Nicole. I'm a college student. I know you're busy. I know you're running a show. I just wanted to introduce myself and meet someone that's on touring, right? That's working for. Just don't be a super fan either, right? Don't if it's dream artist, don't act like the fan, right? Be professional. Because people don't want to take fans on tour. It's okay to be a fan of the music, right? Because you want to be love the artist you're working for, but just tread carefully about being the fan. So I'll say that, right? What else? Dream tour. So try to find opportunities to meet tour, know who the people are, and then just reach out. If you're a student, it's easy. Just reach out and say, hey, I'm a student that just wanted to meet you and see if I can have a quick interview with you. If you're not, I mean, it's all still okay. Still try to reach out and just say, hey, I'm new to the industry. I've done this. If I remember your message, you've done some cool stuff in the political space, right? So you have some experience, and maybe use that to lead into it. Just need something from your experience that's interesting to lead into the conversation, saying, hey, I'm going into live music and touring now. I just wanted to introduce myself and see if you have 5 minutes for a quick Zoom call. But that's kind of how I'll probably approach that. But know who the people are, searching through LinkedIn, searching through Google search, whatever, and then just find an opportunity to introduce yourself. So hopefully that's helpful, Nicole. Let's see. AJC. What are notable differences between American and Canadian shows? I haven't done much in the Canada market, right? So complete transparency. Are you based in Canada? Is how I asked my Canadian market. I think as far as the show, I mean, I have a few offers. So I'm looking at a Canada tour right now for an artist, and I will say the offer structure is the same, right? The currency exchange obviously is different. So you have the currency exchange that's gonna be different. I know in Canada, I'll just talk to the things I do know. I know there's different laws about merch and taxes. If you are an international artist, that's not from Canada, that's going into Canada. As far as stories I've heard, you're going to have to do your inventory of your merch at the border, right? They're going to make you open your merch boxes and count your merch in and out, and you're gonna have to pay taxes on your merch, right? To the government, and there's no way around it. So don't try to be sneaky about your merch because you don't want to get caught trying to do something, right? I know in some areas are maybe a little more French dominant, so there might be a little bit of a language thing if you don't speak the language. But outside that, honestly, like I think most of it's different, like the same. Like just from seeing the offers from that I have from the Canadian shows, and obviously having worked for some companies that have offices in Canada, I think 90% of it, 95% is the same. Like the same things, or everything about production is going to be the same. Everything about offers and deals is going to be the same. Dealing with venues, it's all going to be the same. So like I'd say 95% of it's going to be the same. I think the only key differences are it's going to be around laws and regulations and taxes. I think that's really the key difference, and currency exchange. Yeah, that's it. Are you looking to do shows in like? Are you what's your interest in the industry? Are you looking to be? Let me see. Also, any independent promoters in Western, Central, or Eastern Canada that you could recommend working with? Let me take a quick look. I mean, obviously, Live Nation, right? That's if that's one of the big ones. There is. I will try to find it. I want to spend a lot of time searching, but there is a promoter that I got offers from. Look into Modo Live, MODO Live. Let me just see if all these. Yeah, so Modo Live, Live Nation, and let me just see. There's one more that reached out to me. If I can't find it quickly, then I'll just share my email and then I'll take a look. Is this the one? It's not okay. So let me just share my email with you. Like I said, I've done a lot of work in the Canadian market, but here's my email. If you want to just send me a quick note, and I'll see what other promoters there are in Canada. There's one other one that reached out to us with it, Cowboy Bebop. That really wanted to work with us. So yeah, shoot me a note. Remind me about the Canadian promoters, and also just let me also know what you're interested in about the industry. Like, are you looking to be a promoter, work for a venue, touring, a manager, right, and so on. So thanks for that. Let me see. Cool. People chat with each other. I love it. I love seeing people engage with each other. So let me. I have about 18 more minutes left. Let me go quick into the next section. Feel free to keep throwing questions in the chat. But the next section of the networking part. It's funny. I've only gotten through two of five. It's all good. So I'm here for you guys, not just to blurt out the lesson I have for today. But one other lesson comes to networking, right? So going back to networking, it's one of my favorite rules. So there's a guy that I follow. So I've people that I learn from as well, right? And one of those people I learn from is Gary Vee, right? So he's one of my. He doesn't know who I am, but he's one of my mentors. So I watch a lot of his content, and he has this great rule about 51-49 is the rule, right? Adding value. And really the bigger into adding value that you can go, and the less into asking, the better, right? So the 51-49 rule is about adding value to relationships and not asking for things, right? And he has a great book that's probably right behind me, jab, 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 right hook, right? And what that represents, what it stands for is value, 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 call to action, right? If you think about it as a bank account, right? So whenever you add value to a relationship, you are depositing money into your bank account. Whenever you're asking for something, when you're asking for a favor, a call to action, now you're withdrawing from a bank account, right? And the way I always said it in class, imagine every time you do a favor, you're adding value, you're putting $1 in, and whenever you're asking or doing a call to action, you're taking $2 out, right? So you're taking out more. It's a lot to ask for favors, right? It's well, my mentor now, he does not like asking people for anything, right? He is very mindful of when he asks. And because of that, when he does ask, he usually either he'll get something, right? It may not be necessarily what he wants out of it, but he's going to get something, either a meaningful conversation, a new connection, something, right? But add value to relationships. Like the worst kind of friend to have is the one that always asks for favors, right? Hey, can I get $5 for this? Can I borrow some money? Can you spot me for lunch? Can you help me move? Can you help me do this? Right. And they never return the favor. Those are the worst kinds of friends to have. Right. And if you think about it in a business relationship, the worst relationships to have is someone that's always asking for something, right? Asking for a favor, asking for the next gig. Right. So when it comes to adding value to relationships, think about the bank account, right? The positive bank account. And I mentioned it a little bit earlier, right? But the worst person working gigs are the ones focused on, or the best people working gigs are the ones that focus on doing a great job, being proactive, looking for things to do, being helpful, being kind, um, having conversation, but keeping it quick and short, right? Not letting conversation distract from the job. Like they're focused on the job. And the worst person working gigs are the ones that are looking for the next gig, right? They're there, they're just there. You can tell like they're hustling, they're trying to figure out where the opportunities are, and they're trying to find the next gig. And those are the worst kinds of people working shows. And then most times they're not going to get the gig, right? There's a saying in the industry. Not a lot of people say it publicly, but the person that gets the gig is the person that's a good hang, right? A good hang means the person they want to hang out with, right? The person they want to have around. They're fun. They're easy to talk to. They're not trying to hustle and get something out of the relationship. They're contributing meaningfully. They're there to get the job done, and then once the job is done, then they're going to have some good, meaningful conversations, right? So how do you add value? One way to add value is make introductions, right? Make introductions to people, like, and don't assume just because someone is like a powerful person in the industry, right? They know everyone, because they don't, right? And if there's a relationship that you have that someone might want, make an introduction, right? That's one way to add value, and be obviously mindful of the person you're introducing them to, right? Let's make sure they actually want to know who the other person. If not, ask for permission if you're making it to make an introduction. But introductions are a way to add value. Share information, right? And if you're first starting to get in the industry, right, you most likely, I'm not going to say everyone, but most likely you have the luxury of time. And if you have the luxury of time, you have the luxury of researching some things and learning about things, right? And now the current big thing is AI. So learn as much as possible about AI, and ask AI, work with the AI, right? Ask like, how can I add value to the music industry? How can I teach people about AI to utilize AI in a good, positive way for the music industry, right? Some people in the music industry are not fans of AI because of copyright issues, but ask it, right? Like, how can I? That's a great thing about where we're at with technology these days. Ask it to how you can help teach people about AI and tell them about AI, right? So whatever the new thing is, whether it's AI, running ads on TikTok, right? I'm looking at a lot of things about running ads on TikTok right now. Um, Anything that you might know, right? That they are looking to learn more about, share information, share notes, right? If you know someone's trying to learn about something and you just went to a conference about it and you learned something, and you're trying to build a strong relationship with this person, it's like, hey, I went to this conference recently and I know you're really trying to learn about this. I took some notes. Hopefully this is helpful. Here, I'm sharing my notes with you, right? So share notes. What else? Teach what you know, right? If you can teach about something, that's a way to add value. If there's an app or a tool that you discover that might help someone with time management, organization, whatever, share that app or tool with them. There's a good podcast, right? There's one person in the industry that I know that loves to read books about leadership and personal development and just being a good human, right? Just whenever I find a good book or a good podcast, I make sure to share that, right? Let me see. Follow up an email, right? Always be learning and always be willing to share. Don't like hold information in. One of the things that people, I guess, tell me the most of the time is that there's not really anyone talking about the touring industry out there. There's not a lot of people sharing it, and I kind of share it pretty bluntly. And we should talk about offers and deals and everything. So if you have any added value, right? Like don't hold the information. That's how we all get better as people, by sharing information. Bring a friend to an event, right? It's another way to add value. If you go into a show, right, you get invited to a show, you're trying to meet with someone in the industry, and they say, "Oh, hey, come check out this showcase or this show." Like, our agents will invite you to shows all the time, and inviting you doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get a free ticket. But especially in their town, right, there might be an artist that they work with that's playing. Go, right, and if you're going, try to bring someone, because one is another person at the show, makes the show look better, right? and bring them, right? And then another way to add value is promote people's stuff, right? If you are involved in the local music scene and there's local artists, like promote their shows. Like when they're doing a show, post about their show, tag them. Every Friday, it's New Music Friday. Like share someone's music, share an independent artist's music, tag them on that, right? It's another way to add value, and find out what they're currently excited about and try to find opportunities to talk about that. Be interested, to be genuinely interested in people, right? And then refer potential business. There's many different ways to add value. And yeah, just think about how can you add value to this event, to this relationship. Let me see. Before I go to my last section, let me just take a look in the comments again real quick. Do you think it's a good idea to approach artists and offer to promote shows they're already doing? Yeah. It's good to promote shows they're already doing. I mean, you're probably not going to gain anything financially out of it, right? But one thing I've learned, being a promoter is very competitive, right? Especially if you're in a competitive market, right? When I started in Orlando, Orlando's a very competitive market. And there's one time I lost a show. Losing a show means you put an offer in, someone else put either a better offer in, or they're the same offer, but they're at the venue that people want to play, right? So sometimes in New Orleans, like even though we were House of Blues, Tipitina's is a legendary venue, right? And everyone wants to play Tipitina's because it's tips, right? And sometimes we will lose shows, even if it was the same offer, or even if our offer was better, just because the artist wanted to play tips, right? And it was one time in Orlando where this happened to me, a show I really, really wanted. I know my offer was better. I also have a bigger capacity, so the artist could have walked away with more money, but another venue got the show, and I was pissed, right? And a mentor at the time, Ethan from AEG, really good dude. But he said, it's okay that you lost a show. Like, it's at the end of the day, the artist is still coming to Orlando, and because they're still coming to Orlando, it's still going to help the scene, right? Because if the tours are coming to your town and your your city is active with live music, then it helps, right? So yes, it is good to promote other shows and tag the artist, right? If you're promoting it and you're putting the word out, and definitely tag it, right? Tag the show, make sure they see you promoting. So 100%, it's always good to promote our shows. And you see, even if I had nothing to do with this gig, yeah. So if you had nothing to do with the gig in the first place, yeah, absolutely. It's always good to promote your scene, right? And that's how your scene is going to grow and evolve if everyone's promoting the scene. And if you're a person that is in the industry or wants to be in the industry, always promote your scene. Absolutely. You see, I may be adding value to them, establish connections. I established, because I remember, Alex, I'm gonna put the audio out first too. But I may be adding value to them, establish connections, and they may consider. Yeah, I mean, they may or may not, right? If you're promoting the shows and you're doing it from like your promoter account, even if I guess from your personal account, someone's gonna see your name, right? So the person that's gonna see you promoting the shows may not be the actual artist. It's whoever is checking the social media platforms. So the manager, the label, maybe the agent, but the manager and label are definitely checking it. So when you do maybe reach out, hopefully, if you promote it enough to where they may remember you, or they may even engaged with your post, reach out afterwards, right? Reach out to the management company or the label. Management's probably a little bit easier to reach, but reach out to someone in marketing and just say, hey, I just saw the show recently. I helped post about it. I'm new in the industry. I would love to just get 5 minutes of your time and say hello, and just thank you for the awesome show, right? So yeah, definitely use that as an opportunity to reach out. No guarantees, right? Don't ever expect anything, but that definitely a good strategy to use. All right, so let me quickly get into a few more minutes left. Let me get into icebreakers real quick. Icebreakers and keep an active network. You know what? A couple of things I'll just try to rush through it, but icebreakers, if you're at a conference or at an event, just be mindful and respectful, right? There's a lot of people that want to talk to them, so etiquette is important. Ask them, do you have a quick second to chat, right? So ask for time to talk. I'm rushing through this, so I would usually do a lot more on icebreakers, but the key thing is finding a good way to open the conversation, right? Maybe like, what are you currently excited? Like, don't ask the basic cookie cutter stuff, right? Like, what do you do for a living? Where are you from? Like, don't do those, right? To save time, and I see a couple more things in the chat. To save time, ask ChatGPT for some or whatever AI to use for some good icebreaker questions for a specific situation. But at the end of the day, right? What brought you to this event? What are you excited about? What are you currently working on? Right? Um, what's something new in your life you're excited about? If you're meeting people at an event, like what session, like at a conference, like what session did you really enjoy today? What's your favorite thing you learned today? If you're going to a show, right? Have you heard of the openers before? Are you excited to see any of the openers? Like I would go to shows all the time just to see the opener, right? So that's a great icebreaker to ask. And then find a good icebreaker, right, to start the conversation, and then to keep it going. Remember the acronym FORD, FORD, like the car company. But Ford, family, occupation, recreation, and dreams is what the acronym stands for, right? If you keep conversation around those things, right, and especially if you're introverted, and I might seem weird that to say I'm introverted, I actually am in a public situations, especially the bigger the group, the more quiet I get. But just remember when you're in situations, right? Just remember the acronym FORD, right? And it's not so much about doing the talking. It's people love to talk with themselves. Just keep the conversation going, right? And the way to keep the conversation going is have a good, interesting icebreaker. That's different than from where you're from, where you go to school, what you do for a living, right? Just find more interesting icebreakers than that. And then go to Ford. So family, occupation, recreation, dreams. Dreams might be a little bit harder to get to, right? Not right out of the gate. But if you keep conversation about them, so family, ask about that. That's like once conversation started, then you can ask where they're from, right? Ask about backgrounds, where like how long they've lived in the towns. Let's say you're in Orlando, how long have you lived in Orlando? Did you grow up here, right? You can ask them about their job. I mean, our industry naturally leads to talking about occupation, recreation. This is when I would talk about Sonny in the beginning and him having like conversations with people. It was a lot of folks on recreation. It's like giving them a hard time about their favorite sports team. It's knowing about what sports team they were into, right? Like recreation is like about their hobbies and interests. Like what are they doing, right? If you're talking to me, if you start a conversation about jiu-jitsu or judo, I'm gonna go for days. So find out what they're interested in, right? And focus on talking about their hobbies and their dreams, right? That's the deeper stuff. That's the more meaningful. So if you get to that point, if it's not a quick conversation, you can talk about dreams. Like what is the current passion project? What is something that you're what's your favorite part about your work, right? I mean, I guess that it can be more about occupation, but what's your favorite part about your work? How'd you get in this occupation? And then again, good context cues, right? If you're at an event and there's multiple people that may want to talk to that person, keep it quick. So exit these conversations gracefully and just say, hey, I really enjoyed hearing about something that they said, right? So just mention something that you enjoyed to hear about. I don't want to take too much of your time. I know there's other people here to talk to you, or I know there's other people here that you probably want to talk to here at a party or something like that. Thanks for the chat. Can I reach back out to you? Right. So again, I really enjoyed our conversation about blah, blah, blah. I don't want to take too much of your time. Thanks for the chat. Can I reach back out to you? Right. That's probably a good way to end a conversation. So let me quickly go to the chat. I do want to end on active network. Cool. And then Falgun, right? Cool. Thanks for all the great questions too. Appreciate that. Also, AJC, thank you so much for where was it? I noticed you contributed. I have it out there. I'm not really promoting it. I'm terrible at promoting, but I do have a virtual tip jar. So anybody wants to contribute, trying to raise money for a program we're launching. So I have it pinned in the chat if you want to contribute. Or these was helpful. But most importantly, I'd rather have you in the Making Academy and get to know y'all even more. So come join there. There is one more question I want to answer. Before we get there, let me just quickly end on to kind of button up the whole networking conversation, right? Is keep an active network. So I can close on this one quickly, but at the beginning I said it's not just about who you know, it's about who knows you, right? And then also the next level to that is who you keep in contact with, right? Just because you met someone 5, 6, 10 years ago, right, doesn't mean they're going to be a meaningful value to your network anymore. So the more time passes, the more the value decreases. So I said, call people on their birthdays, call them once a year just to check up on them, and call them without wanting anything. And then one exercise without calling, right, that you can do is called the Connect 4 exercise. So if you scroll all the way to the bottom of your text messages, right? So open your text messaging app, scroll all the way to the bottom. How long has it been since you talked to the person at the very bottom? Has it been 6 months? If it's 6 months, awesome. You're doing a great job. Or you're just deleting messages constantly, right? But for most of us, it's probably going to be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, right? Since you talked to someone. So scroll to the bottom of your text messages, and I'm sorry to whoever came up with this exercise. I've heard of on a Dave Altucher podcast. I like to always credit people when I learn something. But it was on a Dave Altucher podcast, and this guy gave this tip on networking. So I find it, I'll throw it in the comments or in the video description on YouTube. But basically, you scroll to the bottom of your text messages and look at the last 4 people on the bottom, and just ask, do I still want to keep in touch with this person? If not, just like delete the message, get out of the way. Or if you want to save the message, I mean, if you want to save the message, you probably want to keep in touch with them, right? So text the 4 people at the very bottom of your text messages, a very quick, short text messages. Hey, so-and-so, it's been a long time. Just wanted to say hello. Maybe one quick thing about what you're up to these days, right? So for me, it'll probably be, hey, so-and-so, it's been a really long time. I hope you're doing well. Been working for this artist management company for the past 2 years. Loving the, I don't know, just coming off the top of my head, right? Love being involved in building artist careers these days, right? And then just want to say hello. Hope you're well. Have a good day. That's it, right? Something like that. I mean, I would probably go through it in a little more detail afterwards, but something just super quick like that, right? And send that to the last 4 people on the bottom. I will guarantee you, but most of them will respond to you, right? And now you'll start back a conversation. And then you should do it, right? So again, like what I said in the very beginning, lead with kindness. You're doing it out of kindness. And just, like life goes so fast, right? Like shit goes by so quick. And if we don't keep in contact with people, right? Like, and things happen, right? It's like tragic things happen in their lives, and they lose their lives. You're going to wish that you were kept in touch more, right? You're going to wish that you reached out more. So just do it. Just reach out, right? It's not about gaining something or getting something. The benefit in terms of networking, yes, you're going to stay top of mind, right? You will stay top of mind. And if an opportunity presents itself, like maybe they're going to think about you because you're keeping your network active. But at the end of the day, you do it because you want to just be a good human and you want to be kind to people, right? And that's going to show through the message, right? And that's going to show through not asking for anything, just literally just saying hello. So keep an active network. So kind of just to summarize the networking portion, and I see another question in the chat, but to summarize, go see shows, meet people, make stuff, right? Add value to relationships, find good, interesting icebreakers, and then keep the conversation going by focusing on Ford, family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. Keep your network active. And if anyone wants to reach out, right, here's my email. And then before I close, let me see, there's another question in the chat. Any upcoming conferences coming up that I should prioritize? Great question. This is one I should actually write a quick thing about. But there is some conferences. Are you going to any music festival, or are you going to music festivals? Are going to music festivals? Yes, they can be. If you have access to things, right? Like festivals can be good, but conferences probably better. And people are going there with the intention to network, right? Festivals can be good depending where in the festival grounds you can go, right? But you still can meet people that are working the festival, like meet the merch people, meet people you see running around with walkie-talkies, especially when they're not currently walking around, right? Just say hi. So definitely, because there's a lot of people working at festivals. But to answer your first questions, any upcoming conferences? There is the NIVA conferences, conference, NIVA. Let me see, NIVA conference. That one's coming up in June, I believe. Yeah, June 23rd. So I'll drop this. I think I can drop things in the chat from StreamYard. So check out this conference, NIVA, the National Independent Venue Association. So that's coming up in June. There's a really good conference coming up in Atlanta next week. It's the Event Marketing Conference in Atlanta. And none of these people, right, sponsor the podcast or anything. I'm not promoting something that I get money from. If y'all want to sponsor the podcast, bring it on. I'd love to have you. But the Event Marketing Conference, that's coming up in Atlanta. That's next week. And then one other one I love promoting or talking about is IEBA. It's the International Entertainment Buyers Association. That is coming up in Nashville. That's usually in October. So I'll drop that in the chat. And obviously watch out for Polestar, right? So when the Polestar Live comes back around, that's usually in February. Go check out that conference as well. So conference is a great place to meet people, right? But hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully y'all learned a lot. Thanks for joining. Thanks for all the amazing questions. I will promote the Patreon, right? So of course I do have a Patreon. You can literally enter it in this for $1 a month if you want to contribute. At a $10 level, I have a bunch of videos. Then I'm recording more. The podcast is coming back on Thursday. It'll be the first episode of the podcast. At a $10 level, you can get parts of the podcast that'll only release to Patreon. And then occasionally I do like interviews with people that I'm only putting on Patreon, right? So even at the $10 level, there's value. And if you want to learn how to promote shows, develop yourself as an artist, work at a venue, I do have the $30 level, the academy level, right? Where we have almost weekly workshops. I'd say it's 2 a month, but in an ideal world, it's 3 to 4 a month. And we're meeting today, and today we're at the topic. I try to at least once a month or so have a topic, but a lot of times we kind of workshop through stuff. But the topic today, so today I do have a topic. It's gonna be at 2 o'clock East Central Time. But the topic today is how promoters can build a brand and stand out as a brand. And during the workshops, right, I'll share my screen and I'll show some things and we'll go through some stuff. So join there if it's valuable. But thank you all for all the great questions. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Fangul. Thank you, AJC, and everyone else that joined. Have an amazing day. And we're doing this again on Friday. On Friday, it's looking like I'm gonna have a guest, Bree Noble, who has been on the podcast before. She's really focused on empowering women in the industry. So we'll give the women the spotlight on the industry, but everyone join, like anyone, right? Please come join the podcast because obviously, regardless, it's going to be valuable information there for you. So talk to y'all soon. Thank you.